And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review.
There are lots of Bohnanza games out there. One of the standalone ones is called Sissi. This one introduces the Sissi bean, or as they call it, the queen bean. So let me show you how it plays. In Sissi, you're building bean farms. Similar to Bohnanza, you're going to, on your turn, you will have a hand of cards. Now your hand of cards must stay in the same order, so this card will be the first card I play, this card will be the second card, this card will be the third card. So on your turn, the first thing you're going to do is, before you're going to play a card, at least one. Let's just say I played this to go with my garden beans. As you can see, it's a number 4, so you must play the same type on the same column. You only could have 2 columns of beans, or as they call it, 2 bean fields. Then you're going to put 2 cards out in the middle. And then this is where the game becomes interesting, because anyone could trade for those beans. So in this case, the 2 cards in the middle, let's say, were a Sissi bond and a garden bond. Now you can say, I want to trade. You must keep your cards in order, but you can say, I want to trade my sell bond, because you don't need sell bonds, but someone else might need sell bonds. So they might say, if it's their turn, they might say, oh, I'll give you a sell bond if you give me the Sissi bean, or I'll give you the sell bond if you give me the garden bean. So this is a way to kind of change your hand, because if you can trade this card away, now, as one of the other players, now you have the cards that you might need in the order you need it. Now you could also maybe trade a fire bond. If you do that, then if you see here, because I traded those two, now my rote bond, which goes with this pile here, will be the top card. So you kind of want to trade a lot. What's interesting about this one, and what changes it from Bohnanza, is these Sissi beans. As you can see, there's 50 of them in the game, but they're not a bean by itself. So what happens with the Sissi beans is you could add them into any other bean field to count them towards the beans, because when you collect beans, you look at the bottom, 2 cards will give you one coin, so you take 1 card from the pile and save it as a coin for your victory points, or 3 of these would give you 3 coins, or 5 of these would give you 5 coins. In this case, 1 for 2, 3 for 4, 5 for 6. Some of the other ones that have a lot more beans might be 5 gives you 1, 8 gives you 3, and 11 gives you 5. So depending how many beans there are, in this case there's 16 of these, only 4 of these. But the catch on this to get to those higher numbers is that in order to keep your bean field without having to be forced to farm it, every other bean must be a Sissi bean. So if we look here at this one, Sissi 4, this field could keep growing until it gets to the 5th. But if they put a Sissi bean here, look, 4, 6, 8, so that would only be 4. So in order to get the good, you're going to eventually need to get one of your good beans as the 6th bean if you want to get the better payout, because the Sissi beans really have a poor payout. In this case, this one, because there's 2 of the same, whether it's 2 of these or if you had 2 Sissis in a row as well, if you had 2 of the same, then you must farm it immediately at the beginning of your turn. At any time during your turn, you can farm as well and start a new bean field. So after you're done with trading, what happens is whatever cards are left in the middle, or whatever cards you were given, or whatever cards other people traded, everyone must plant those immediately, whether you farm or not farm, or just throw out because you couldn't farm enough, you do it. So in this case, I would farm this for 4. I would take 3 of them, make them coins. This would go back into the discard because you're going to play through the deck 3 times. Once you get to the 3rd time, whoever's collected the most coins will win the game. Well, I really like the twist in Sissi. I like those queen beans. I feel that it adds a lot more trading into the game than you got with the regular Bohnanza game, because everyone wants to trade to get the Sissi beans, to get the pattern of one regular bean, one sissy bean, one regular bean, one sissy bean. But you have to be really careful to make sure that you don't get two of the same. And especially if you end with a sissy, you're going to get a lot less points than if you end with one of the really good beans. But they're harder to trade. But I feel that this game in general, when you play it, it leads to a lot more trading. And I think that makes this a winner in my book. It's a great standalone version of Bohnanza. It's one that I highly recommend if you could find it. I know it's kind of a difficult place to find it because you only get it in Germany at the moment. But it's one that if you really like Bohnanza, you'll find an even more trading in this one, and you'll find it to be a lot of fun. I give this an awesomeness rating of 9.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.